Hey everybody, this is Herschel Froome from High School Top 200. This St. John's College Hamilton review is brought to you by Fineline Barbers in Hamilton. Also, in 2017, Fineline Barbers are getting together and they've teamed up with some major sponsoring suppliers. They have created a Aotearoa barber competition which will be held in 2017 in September. The idea behind the competition is to bring to life and be able to bring forward the industry, and for us to recognize the industry and the skills that they have within the industry. Now, the Aotearoa barber competition will be held on the one day. There's going to be a Facebook page and also an Instagram page will be set up for this competition so that barbers can come and put their work on these on this Facebook page and on this Instagram page, so they can build up a profile, so that on the day guys like us can book haircuts from these guys that we've been following through the page that are from different parts of the country. And if we want to get a haircut by that particular barber, we can do that through this page and through following them throughout the year. And so that's a big advantage for these barbers to put their skills out there, and it's going to be a great competition. It's going to be a great day. They're going to have spot prizes for people and sort of freestyle jam stations where barbers can go in and cut up. The best thing about this is that you don't have to be a qualified barber. If you're just naturally talented and you have that skill to cut it up, like, you can still enter this competition and you can still go there and showcase what you got. For barbers that are turning up and barbershops that are turning up to the competition, there'll also be vendors there and also people selling products for you to fill up your stock within your barbershop, and to also be in there to make new connections and new networkings through this competition. So it's going to be a good day. So big shout out to Vinnie and Fineline Barbers in that. Keep an eye out for their Facebook page and Instagram page. A new team showed up this year, and I wasn't surprised that they showed up. I was more surprised at how good they ended up being and how talented the team was. This St. John's and Hamilton, don't get confused with St. John's and Hastings, but St. John's and Hamilton, they really came out and they really showed a lot of, even the big teams around the country. Like, they in preseason they went up against St. Peter's in Hamilton and in Auckland and even beat them. And so this team was not a team that was just a push around team. And to be honest, St. John's has never been a rugby school. Never. They've never been a rugby school. They've always been a basketball school. But this year, well, actually not just this year, but they've been building up a team. So it was led by Liam Combs Fabling, who was the hooker, and he was the captain, and he was a player that was pretty underrated, to be honest. I thought that he would have made a bit of a shine at the Chiefs camp, but he was selected for standby. But he was maybe a little undersized, but his work rate was really high. I thought that he was a really good player and that maybe should have been scouted a bit more. But I felt he should have been there. But he led his team, they had some really big wins over some big teams. Like in their competition that they play in, is the county's Waikato Rainbow Zen competition. They were never really challenged at all. Manurewa were probably the closest to them, but even then there was still that big gap. So they weren't really tested until they played. So for instance, they played Hamilton boys and also Rotorua boys early on in the years, like sort of straight after their preseason games. They had those two games in a row. Now I was at the Rotorua game, and I put that one as their worst loss because they should have won. Actually, they should have won. They had two dropped tries, and even the excuse of Rotorua just coming back from Japan and blah 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 whatever, they still would have been tired because they would have had to go home to have Rotorua and then come back the next week. They decided to save the trip and then come back and stay a couple of nights in Auckland, then come down to Hamilton before they went back to Rotorua. So they played there. So to me, like, you have to get around these travelling issues and whatever, but they still played. Rotorua won. St John's should have won. I think St John's choked because they choked in the sense because they knew that they had the game in their hands, and they finally realised that they were this good. They finally realised that they were playing Rotorua boys, a legendary team, and they were putting it on them. And then even these tries that were, like, honestly, these were easy tries. Like a catch, put it down try. There were 2 of them that they missed. One was even just before the line, and he passed him the ball and he dropped the ball. I'm not going to say the player's name because I don't want to embarrass him, but it was that easy. Like, that's how easy these tries were, and they let it go. The score was 35-26 to Rotorua boys. With those 2 tries, we're not talking. I think they would have closed out Rotorua probably earlier on in the game. And so this to me was the first time that I realized, well, this team actually has more than what I expected anyway. And then they went up to play Hamilton boys and just lost to Hamilton boys as well. I thought their best win I put down was St. Paul's Collegiate when they won 11-6, because it showed that they could compete and win games in a national level, and St. Paul's wasn't an easy team to beat either. So like it was one of those things. St. John's should actually be in a better competition. I wish that they would be able to I wish that they were let into the CNI competition, because I think that there's a good quality of teams who are all around the same level, and all those teams are kind of creeping up to the upper rankings of teams, where they're getting closer to the bigger teams in Wellington, Auckland, and even Christchurch and stuff like that. So hopefully that they get to that they get to a better competition. St. John's College does. But they had a lot of good players, like Siave Sete is the winger, who I think next year will probably have a real big shot at New Zealand secondary schools. I thought he should have been a Barbarian this year, just off his pure size and speed and strength, and then how much he grew when he was in the Chiefs camp, and then even his game against the Blues was real strong. He came away with 2 tries, I think, and so I thought that will give him that push. But I mean, like, there's always next year. Nakor Marcroft, after St. John's went to Brisbane, and they dominated over there, Brisbane boys, and I think they played St. John's Nudgee, I think it was. But even then, they Nakor didn't come back. He stayed there with family, and so that's why he wasn't a part of the Chiefs. But he was picked to go. Next year, I think he might be in Newcastle. I think he's taking up a league contract, but it's not confirmed yet. But that's just the rumours that are out there. So they had some really good players this year. The ones that are coming back next year, so like Siave Sete will be back next year. Who else is coming back? Nakor, if he doesn't have that contract, he'll be back. Kelly is going to come back as well. They also have Justice Hall. So like Justice Hall, I've got Justice, I've got Harlan, I've got Anadu and Keaton, and all these guys were in the Waikato under 16s, all really good talented players. Justice is a year 12, but as a young year 12, and I think that he's going to be one of those players that if he grows and gets bigger, and then Masters is, he's going to be one of those guys that you're going to turn to and look and see a real good offensive player who's just got hard out mongrel in him. Anadu, I think, is going to take that second 5 spot, because BJ Lima, I think, is going to go into center, and if Narco doesn't come back, I think Arnold, because Arnold's gone big now, so like I think that he would be a good second five, just a really good crash ball kind of fella, and Keaton Neals, he's going to be at halfback again. Harlan, I think, he played really good for the under-16, so I think it'll be better for his role to be at first five this year, unless they got someone else, but that's who I've seen and I would put into. Setafano, I think, is also young enough to come back, and so that will take care of their either number 8 or blindside spot, and so that will be a really good thing for him. To all you coaches out there that are looking for really strong preseason games, look at St. John's College in Hamilton. They will test your team, and you're going to find out how strong you actually are. Kings had a good game again against them beginning of this year, and also St. Peter's as well. St. Peter's in Auckland, so hit them up if you need a good game, because that's who's going to bring it every game. They have a lot of good talent coming back, and it'll be interesting to see where they are next year. I will probably have them in my top 25, not sure where, but I'll reevaluate everything once all the information has all come back, and I'll see where I've got them. That's my review of this year for St. John's. Peace.